Sugar board?
We need one of those like basketball ones that are just like half down. And it starts, yeah. It's not like watch.
I remember that.
Do you?
That was just over,
Yeah.
it had the vote for it.
Let's have that snowboarding again, just here at the house.
Where's your house?
Or-
Okay, yeah.
Have they got any snow up there?
No, not they, I think they got snow right before the season started. And it was all,
It's so sad for
or,
Yeah.
so maybe it's one of those this year.
Probably like early April.
The blizzard. The big brown mountains, like, over the trails.
I'm trying to
We have to go to the desert and stand.
We do,
For your workers.
we did have for your boards. Oh, that's so it always comes to.
Yeah.
To fresh showers, snow there. Change it out. Change it out.
Oh, that's what's center. Told me he's on the road with Mike Allen, probably not.
Yep.
Start.
I'm going to turn the speakers on.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out to this workshop meeting. The meeting's on call to order. We can start with the pledge of allegiance to the flag
The flag
of the United States of America,
America, to the republic, which is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is now called to order. In line with the purpose expressed in any policy of government and in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, I wish to advise you that adequate notice of the scheduled meeting is sent to the Asbury Park Press and other local newspaper on January 10th, 2023. Allegiance to the date, time, and location of this meeting are provided in the notice. This meeting is open to the public. Roll call. Councilmember Bieber. Here. Booker.
Here,
Catalano. Gorman.
Here.
Fielder. Lamy.
Here.
And of course, Sam said he's on the road facing the call. All right, first up, remarks from the audience. Is there anybody online or any person like to be heard? Just please state your name, your address, and if you address everybody. Anybody online want to be heard today? All right. All right, so we want to put a decent agenda today, and it includes an executive session, so we'll kick off as usual with our board administrator, Joe, with capital projects update.
Chris listed a couple of the projects we're working on now, and the first one would be awarding the contract for engineering for this year's Transportation Trust Fund Municipal Road Program that we will be applying for, and well, we already got it, but my recommendation would be to stay with Avakian on this one. We have another firm working on the three that will be starting in March next month currently, and it would just be my recommendation that at our next meeting we award the contract to Leon Avakian to do Island View Way, Garden Way, and Longview Way this year. That's completely up to council, but we do have Remington Burnett doing other projects for us right now, and Greg Blashed knows these roads pretty darn good, and there's some ponding and things like that I feel more comfortable recommending that we stay with Avakian on this road program. The geophysical investigation report at 19 River Street, that's the one where we may at someday put the public works garage. We call it a pole barn, but basically it's a garage. And because there was so much happening down there in that area, we wanted to be sure that we weren't putting a building over any utility that we would have to physically remove or violate the building at some point in the future to get to those utilities. So I believe there was a geophysical report in your package last week at some point, and maybe Greg can explain what he came up with. And I know, I haven't seen it, but I know he was looking at a building of some size that could go on that piece of property if you choose to do that. But we wanted to make sure it would be a building of size that would handle our equipment. I would hate to build a building and say, oh boy, we need another building, or we need another yard or something else. So maybe Greg, you could speak a few minutes to that this morning.
Yeah, we did the underground report there because a lot happened with electric, just to service the pump station, it's also.
Rick, can you go to the microphones, please, or sit next to, Rich? Thank you.
Sorry, sure. Yeah, we went down, there's a lot of utilities that have been underground, and there's stuff that services the existing pump station. Then we got a main feeder line that goes into the JCP&L substation here. So we did an underground facility, an underground investigation, found everything, and we think we can fit in a 6-bay garage. The only thing we would have to relocate is the electric service line that services the existing pump station, which isn't too bad because that would just be pole type of thing. Go from underground, we'll leave it underground, but we just have to put another pole on the east side of the building, the pump station. So it looks like it's pretty doable, it's tight, but I just got to convince JCP&L that maybe they don't have a problem with doing this improvement over where their line is. I don't know where it ultimately connects as it goes to, but we don't know how deep it gets. It goes over 10 feet deep when you get about 20 feet away from their property line on our property. They do not have an easement on our property, but that line crosses our property. So that I have to work out with. But other than that, I think we can get a pretty solid building and then service, probably to store almost all of our equipment. Right now with DPW, we get I think right now we have 5 bays. I think we can get 6 bays out of this garage. So it might service as well.
So great, I've been promising the company some more storage space for years, and we wouldn't have seen the best location. I overused years ago. It was a little drama about this best location as long as it works out.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me is the water, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to figure out, that's what we're gonna talk about later today. That might encompass part of this also.
Yeah, because it will definitely flood every substantial time. So
Yeah, but it's on higher ground. Our routine is to even interview all the places.
So I guess we can talk at a later date during our capital meeting, our 5-year capital plan about the project, and if that's the way council, mayor and council want to go with it, but we wanted to make sure we could put something there. Now, Greg, what about the dumpster issue on South Street? Will the site be able to handle those?
I don't know how many that are there, because I think we have a couple different types of dumpsters we have to put on site. It can handle a certain number, I just have to work out with Dave what the repetition is of how fast and often those have to come out of there. But we have storage ability because between the pump station and the river, there's gonna be a large area there. And then on the east side of the existing pump station and south of that area, that whole corridor there is gonna be about 25-foot strip of land that we could put various different things, and a dumpster could be one of them. But I just have to work out how often you have to get in there, because logistically getting in and out of there is going to be more of a problem than anything storage will be.
Questions, anyone?
No. And at the next council meeting, I'll bring in, once I work out this thing with JCP, I'll bring in a footprint of what I'm proposing with building the driveway locations, and then we can work out these storage areas also.
Thanks. So we're on to some more sheets over here. We have Chief Friedman and Chief Murphy. Okay, okay. So, would you like to kick it off, Brett?
All right.
Please, Chief, please.
No problem. Hey, Brett, do you mind coming up so we can?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll make this kind of quick. Good morning, everybody. So just last month, some of the calls we had, obviously lots of alarms, disorderly conducts, DWIs, fraud, bad checks, credit cards, mental, emotional, suicidal people, property disputes, 155 motor vehicle stops with summonses issued. We have warrants arrests, we had theft, so it was a pretty busy month last month were some interesting things that happened. A couple things I do want to go over at executive session just for a few minutes. Some of the things we are working on, new fuel tank in the back to replace that portable one we have there. We got that portable one through Lisa during Sandy. It's ready to fall apart. The Jeep doesn't like it. I've already got a few prices, willing to split the cost with ourselves, the beach, and OEM. Because we need that, especially for the summer time to fuel everything off. Streetlights, every single one of them was called in again. Did you get our fax and email from Sean Morelli? He is working on that. A couple of things we have going. I know they put the pedestrian crossing, most of the pedestrian crossing signs are at Jack. They were at replacing the other day with DOT. The signs.
Oh, so I thought you were making reference to the.
Yeah, well, I know they put a whole bunch of the signs out, and obviously we're working on the parking situation, specifically, I know it's down the road, but losing that Church Street lot is what I'm worried about the most, because that offsets a ton of cars. Other than that, we are in the process of looking to hire a new police officer, which is taking a little bit longer, because we want to make sure we find the right candidate to replace it, and we don't really have the farm team that we used to have. We used to have a ton of specialists to choose from. We're just not having it anymore. I know that's just a couple things I wanted to touch on in executive session. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, the one we literally, they put the signs up there, the pictures of all the signs they put up. That was it.
We have a meeting down.
Yep.
Chief, just one thing, I know we talked about this in the past. We have a farm team problem. I think we have to be proactive. Is there nothing?
We have been proactive. We've been doing some recruiting. We have ads in a couple online law enforcement looking for jobs. We have some of our guys are going over to the schools. We're already working with the vocational school to get more people in. But they're just not getting the applications, and the people that are getting, as soon as we train them, they're getting scooped up by other departments full time. So it's not a Seabright issue. It's just a basic law enforcement thing in general.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that a small farm team actually doesn't turn into a whole, and then we have to aggressively do something different.
Oh, we're doing it. Yeah, we're doing the best we can.
Are you confident what you're doing is going to close it?
I am always confident in what I'm doing. I just have to, and you know what? It's just, you have to roll with it. We have to adjust people to go to certain areas. Some things are more important than other things. You gotta pick and choose your priorities.
Okay, my
That's
only
for
point
the public.
is, if you think we have to do something to be more proactive, let's talk about it, so
Okay.
we can support you.
Yeah.
I think you got it.
Yeah, we got it. It just, like I said, we just have never, ever been in a situation where we just, the departments in the area are not getting the applications, and whether it's Monmouth Beach has nobody for next year. They're hurting. Long Ranch is down, and you know, like Bassett said, he's down 16 openings over there. So we get it. That's it. No, any questions? And it's just a couple things in executive session.
We'll be talking on that. Committee.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. You want to go,
Parking? Sure, hold on. Good morning. Just want to give an update on the parking. So the Superior Court signed off on our fee schedule. So I anticipate that will be entered by Carol into the AOC any day now, and we will be up and running for our new ordinance and our new fee schedule by the summer. That's it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so
Thank you for
it
saying
took a
that.
little while longer than we thought, but it's happening. So, all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mine's gonna be a lot quicker than that. January calls 28 for the month, which is average for an off-season month with no weather events. As you guys saw, this week we're doing our, as you saw back here, our preventative maintenance on the 3 fire trucks. That's running from Tuesday till tomorrow. With that, I'll get a punch list of all the deficiencies on the fire trucks, which is something that we discussed during our budget meetings. Then I'll present that to council and to Mr. Bass next week. We finished our recertification process for the year. 49 people recertified, plus the 2 that I brought on last week at last week's meeting. Seasonal applications, we're at 12 right now. I'm probably going to cut that down a little bit. We're going to have to filter some of those out just solely because we don't know. So probably the next month or so, you'll see a resolution put forth for appointment of those guys. Aside from that, we're just getting ourselves ready, training up for the ultimate zone.
You know, set the requirements for it.
Rivera's over my shoulder.
Oh, really?
He's gonna speak to the fair if you have any questions.
Sure.
That's his thing now, he's kind of taking over from Steve. Okay, Steve will break. So if you guys have any questions regarding the fair, he's up there.
Thanks, Chief. You want to speak to it all? I see that the date, you said the date set for the fireman's fair, it's a couple weeks before Memorial Day. Sure.
Yeah, it's, we're normally the weekend before, but, between the paid parking and we ran into an issue with Black Company, we decided to move it to the week before that, so we're now 2 weeks before Memorial Day. Same thing as always, just change the date.
No, sounds good. Hopefully
It's really helpful to all our public works people too, Charlie, so thanks for that, because trying to get everything ready for Memorial Day and putting the lot back together is always difficult, so thanks for expediting the 1 week prior. Thank you.
We're hoping for good weather, that's all. So, if anybody's got a contact that can make the weather happen, we'll appreciate it.
We'll pass the resolution. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Sure. Just a morning, everybody. Morning. Just a quick update. So far this year, the squad has responded to 24 different types of emergency medical situations. 0 missed calls, 5 mutual aid requests have been answered. We have 2 projects that we're working on for the spring. One is the CPR class that we brought up at the end of the year. It'll be a community class, so the town will be invited at no charge. They'll only have to pay the $5, I believe, for the card itself, but it will certify you in CPR. And we are, with our medical director, working on a blood drive for the early spring as well. So those are the 2 projects that the squad is working on. Any questions for us? Very good. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. So, thanks, John. We go on to our third item. So everyone knows that DOT's completed a study of our, a survey of our downtown crosswalk areas. They have, as you can read through here, they have proposed improvements in there. And I spoke with our VA Joe about this. He wanted to speak some more detail, Joe. If you wanted to great being on too.
Sure. It's been a couple years since they came and did the a survey of Seabright. I remember a crew coming from DOT and others, Councilman Lamy and Councilman Keeler were there. They reviewed all of our mid-block crosswalks. This isn't just a project for Seabright. It's the entire state that the DOT has done, the north region, the central region, which is us, and the southern region. So they did this, commissioned this study, and they've been closed what their preferred alternative is for each of our mid-block crosswalks. They include a lot of the things we wanted, but they also requested a meeting. Well, they asked if we would like a meeting, and I assured them we would want to sit down with them and talk to them in greater detail about it. But as you can see, they're pretty inclusive. They include the electrified signs. They include some additional lighting, which I'm not sure what that does or how it's going to affect our current lighting, and additional signage at each of our crosswalks. So it accomplishes much. I've been told this is a conceptual plan only right now. So, as you know with the DOT, especially them doing the entire state, it may be a while before we see the improvements, any improvements at all there. It's not, I don't get a feel from DOT that this is going to be a very fast, we'll do it by summer, whatever year, I can't even pick. So So if we have some comments, if a committee would like to sit down with them, along with me, Greg, and the chief, about these, I can arrange for the meeting. Vanessa is very responsive to our needs. She's the woman that is, she's the regional coordinator for the project for our region, and she would put together a team to meet with us. I have spoken to them on several occasions about this, and I may be able to answer any questions you might have about it now, but that's just a broad brush of where we stand, and the locations they want to improve.
So I definitely would like to meet with them. I'm particularly concerned about the foot of the Highlands Bridge, that new condominium plus construction there. A lot of people are already crosswalking there, and I think we need to add that to these five that they've given us. So I'd like to meet with them.
Okay, whoever else would like to be there, John, you were very interested in it before.
Yes.
And I see Heather raising her hand. Mayor, you just tell me, and I will put it together. It is going to be difficult to get another mid-block crosswalk approved, even though that location you speak of, Jack, is right for one. The DOT is very reluctant to increase mid-block. They want everyone crossing at an intersection. You know that. They're very reluctant to increase the number, but let's take a run at it. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, if you want to, so I reached out and see that together for everybody, so.
I've talked to this. Greg, I don't know if you have anything else on that, any update?
No, not at this time.
Okay, so, we'll get Greg involved, obviously, when they talk about design of this, because that's not my wheelhouse, but, they seem very responsive to us. They came in and did it, and it has to be 2 years, isn't it, John or Jack?
Yes, 2 years. Yes.
Yeah, it has 2 years since we met with them, so, that's what I mean, it's not lightning speed, folks, so, but let's continue, and we'll set up a meeting with them, and I will, try to make it convenient for everyone that raised their hand.
Hey Joe, good morning, this is Joe, just a couple quick questions. So first of all, this is encouraging that we're hearing about some progress here. I know it's going to take time. But a couple things. One, I read the letter and I looked at the plans, and the mid-block thing is a bit confusing to me. Walking here this morning, for example, by Seabright Village, across from Chris's Landing, I think is what's there, there's a crosswalk that's heavily trafficked that was not on this list. Is it not considered mid-block because it's at the intersection of Village Road and Ocean Avenue?
Basically, yes, but when we walked it, they pointed out where the mid-block ones were, and there was confusion at the time of, wait a minute, this one looks like mid-block and that one don't. So they were going back to reconsider what they did.
So clearly anything that has a traffic light is not viable. And anything, I guess, that's at the corner of a crossroad and Ocean Avenue view is not a priority. It's strictly if it is not at an intersection that is considered mid-block, and that narrows it down to 5. Okay. Hey, Joe, the second question is conceptually, where is the funding for this coming when this sort of thing happens?
It's coming from the state, and it's the infrastructure bill that's financing this. Our state's infrastructure allotment that they're getting out of the federal government.
Beautiful. And the last thing was, when I looked at the plans, I mean, the signage and the approach is very similar to what's already being done in towns around us. They may be paying for it by themselves, but the majority of those are done with solar and don't require powering. Is it your understanding that this is going to be electrically powered versus solar, and that has impact on cabling and infrastructure and all that kind of stuff?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'll get it for you.
Okay, because as you drive around, I mean, these things are beautiful, right? You press a button, it triggers lights flashing, it's got a sign, and in most towns, and I've seen it in probably 10 towns now, it's driven by a solar battery, and it's on a pole that does not require any electrification. So I'm just curious about that, but thank you for your answer, Joe. Yeah, solar is better. I mean powered by the power bank. I mean, I'm joking.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe, appreciate it. All right, so on to the next one, pretty easy one, it's just a 2023 street rate increase. We're kind of disagreeing on this. This was proposed a couple years ago by our borough governor, Bob Allison, just anticipating infrastructure increases and all that fun stuff. So we can get cooperative one large increase. Was it a 5-year plan that we're in the middle of, Joe? Just a 4% increase per year? And
Yes, sir.
we're going to have to, we're going to support that again this year. So that's just the gist of that item. Joe, you have anything you want to add to that, or is that pretty much a wrap?
No, that's it. I mean, we have new members on the board, but it is, as you said, it was a 5-year plan. They did a presentation for us. They analyzed our financial and our surplus in sewer utility, and it needed help. And I think I've spoken to all of you about some of the deficiencies in our sewer utility surplus and financing needs adjustment, and that's one of our chinks in our armor, so we're trying to bolster that, and this is the program that's supposed to do it.
All right. Any questions? Anybody? Pretty self-explanatory. All right, so we're on to number 5, under the session with the 5G small dojo. As you know, we brought up in the past, essentially a general conversation between going private for this versus Verizon. So there's some perks. As you know, one vendor has suggested we bring them on board to kind of site these places for us. So there's some benefits to that. You have more than one carrier, you have more control of where the sites go. And the other thing is, if Verizon does it, that's fine, they would handle the whole thing, but then it would only be these poles only dedicated to Verizon and so forth. So, I mean, we're going to have a upcoming resolution, Joe. And so essentially, I think, Rich, you've been doing some research on this recently. You want to speak to that for a while?
Well, sure, Mayor. I can tell you the status of some of the interplay with the entities that are interested in doing this. There was a meeting in December with Verizon and borough representatives, at which time the representatives from Verizon indicated they wanted to present a revised from the ordinance the borough did. I guess more in keeping with their vision, which they did just recently. So we have that, we've been looking at it. Greg and I are actually going to meet about it tomorrow, and we have a tentative meeting scheduled with Verizon, a Zoom meeting for next Wednesday. That hasn't been confirmed yet. So we're going to go over our concerns about that, or our questions and or concerns about that. And when we have that narrowed down, we'll go back to Unisite and see what they have to say about it, so we can get everyone's concerns heard. That's where we stand with those folks.
All right, sounds good. Rich, any questions for Rich? Anybody? I agree, thanks. On to the bulkhead ordinance update, and Greg, going to speak to that one.
Well, let me kick it off and then Greg will make some comments. Okay, a couple things. First of all, a lot of good progress since we last met. Greg's been very busy, and I have met on the subject. He's been in the process of doing an updated engineering cost assessment for the bulkhead initiative. Some recent updates as a result of looking at adding to the list either completely missing bulkheads where they don't have them at all, or if they're too low. Previously, we put our focus on damaged bulkheads that needed to be repaired and replaced. So as Greg looked at the broader amounts, particularly in North and South Beach, the number of affected properties and the cost associated with them have been significant. So that in no way precludes the potential benefit of actually doing the project, but we're sort of revisiting the approach that we would take in those two areas, predominantly because in North Beach and South Beach, the primary flood in particular, like the 23% storm that we had, was driven by check valve deficiencies. Downtown was driven by the fact that the water just was high, and it came over the bulkheads, up the streets. I walked the town and took some pictures, and a lot of people did as well. But in that refinement that Greg is doing, it looks like there's a very viable opportunity of, as we talked about in the past, doing a phased approach with potentially downtown first, and could alleviate a lot of the problems once the check valves are fully installed in North and South Beach. And this approach, if we decide to go ahead with it, could very significantly change the flooding risk and potential within the town. So Greg is in the middle of that right now. We'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. The other thing that we want to remember is we have the very significant benefit of complementary projects that are going on right now. Specifically the Haven project, which is about 800-foot bulkhead overall. The planning board approved that project this past Tuesday night, and they're going to be putting a high integrity bulkhead in for a lot of that. Just north of that, JCP&L has applied for a permit to put in a bulkhead as well. And when we look at what's happening at the bridge right now, the bulkheading they're doing there, it's estimated that in the town, to protect downtown, we have about 2,500 linear feet of bulkheading to be required. And over 1,000 of that is already being taken care of by the Haven, JCP&L, and the bridge work itself. So that leaves us with a relatively small portion which Greg is looking at and refining, and will ultimately bring forward to us an understanding of what the cost and implications of that can be. So in my mind, although there's a revelation that if we try to bulkhead the whole town, the cost is more than we originally anticipated, because the prior T&M evaluation did not look at bulkheads that were high integrity but too low, or cases where people didn't have bulkheads. They looked at damaged ones that had to be repaired or replaced. But having said all of that, once the check valves are in, and the bulkhead approach that Greg is looking at right now, I think could fundamentally change the flooding risk of the town. Something like happened on the 23rd, I think we're protected against. Sandy, obviously not. That's a different ballgame. But if we can get 80–85% of this protected through, I think, reasonably good measures, I think it's certainly worth considering more to come on that. Greg?
Yeah, since the last meeting, what we've spent the time doing is we wanted to check the elevations of most of what we've done. Missing bulkheads and elevations of what is out there. So that's kind of the data that we've got. We just finished doing all the survey work last week. We're collating that all together now. Met with Urban the other day. We have a basic understanding of it. We're finalizing the report that shows exactly the property locations and elevations of each associate. And that's when we can refine the cost of the north, south, and downtown area. And at the same time, right now, we're looking at isolating. We talked before about isolating us into 3 projects. So that's what I'm kind of doing right now, is how we isolate to make sure that just because we put a bulkhead downtown, we aren't protected from the north and south side. I know we're protected on the north from the bridge. That's elevation 10, that crossing the approach up to the bridge. So it's not going to float over the top of that, unless you get a sandy event, but we're not looking at that. But the south end is what I'm worried about. We're just trying to figure out how we would isolate the north, the south project from the downtown project, and I'll have all that for us next month.
Sounds good. Again, one work in progress. Yes. And yeah, all eyes on phase 1.
Yes.
I mean, that done first. And yeah, we don't know. We said it before. You know, even if we had all our bulkheads in place, so no rounds of rain, like Irene or Sandy. But that being said, the nuisance flooding that we've had for a long time in line, you know, it'd be nice to get rid of, probably 90+% of the flooding that's down.
And statistically, that's what we're looking at. 80% of it would be gone. It's that 20% ice storms that we can't prevent. But even with this system, it would still give a higher level of protection because it's not going to flood until it gets above that.
Yeah, so by then,
Yeah, and you get a chance to get out.
Yeah, your option, but
Yeah.
Question, I got a question. The materials are using would be galvanized steel or vinyl?
No, we're proposing vinyl. But anybody that's putting in would recommend anything with vinyl. Obviously, they can do what they want, but our project would probably recommend vinyl just as a cost factor.
So, question on the Haven, got approved this week, knowing that they were going to break it, they were also going to break it into phases, with phase 1 being the bulkhead. Is there any idea in terms of time frame of when they would be in?
When we would do something.
No, then.
Well, their original intention was they wanted to break ground this spring.
Okay.
And as you know, they're running behind.
Yeah.
Because everything's happening.
Yeah.
I know you had to leave during the meeting.
Yeah.
But based on what was discussed there, I think optimistically they would not be starting the project before sometime in the summer.
Okay.
And as they indicated, their first priority will be bulkhead.
Yeah.
And I mean, that doesn't change the dynamic for us, but what we'd love to do is come forward with a resolution ordinance and everything that supports a complementary effort that would run up to that.
Sure, right, because that would be part of what you're coming back next month, and there would be a timeline, the check balance come in that next date, that even comes in potentially, you gotta give it a big buffer.
I think we're lucky that this is probably coming together right around the same time, so button up all the public and private ones downtown. So, I don't know if it's gonna win the race first, I don't think they'd be lagging behind, but they probably, I would be surprised if they finish the bulkhead before we do all our phase one bulkheading, so I think we're in good shape. Because they're gonna have to secure the property, step one, no matter what, really, yeah, bulkhead up. They're not gonna probably do the rest of the construction of that bulkhead, so, sure, Harvey.
Yeah, I think that the timing will work out,
Yeah.
better than them not having approval and us trying to start having
Right,
it in the middle,
exactly.
because without everybody there in the whole section, it's one piece of useless. So
Yeah,
the
the
timing will
other,
work.
the other thing we did mention in this, I mean, this almost to me seems like a perfect alignment of positive events between what's happening there, our consideration of this, but also the pump station is a big deal too. Because that pump station will deal with water runoff, stormwater runoff, and get it off, because if you build an outside wall and rains, you can't get the water out, you have a problem. So the additional pump station, I think, can help. So,
Yeah, so that domino hit will fall for us to be viable.
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, all right, more progress. If I remember, just to, next gen, we approved the junior lifeguard program 2023 fee, pretty much $250 per session. It's been successful in the past, Donnie company had it down, besides, very successful, they sell that every year, so.
It did raise the fee, but now it includes their trash card.
I saw that, it's huge.
So,
That's smart.
yeah,
And the pizza parties up there.
yeah.
But it really is a nice, successful program.
It's a great program.
So that's the other thing, that, how the areas and the issues that. Any questions on?
No.
Going on to summer, yeah, so the chief touched on already, we're losing our, riverfront lot there that we've been looking at to add for a number of years. So, the board just wants us to, answer whether or not we're interested in pursuing the old school lot, which is of course on the River School was. So, we want to ask Joe and company to talk to the owners, see if they're interested in doing a summer rental for us for parking, or do you want to avoid it, it's a side street. Personally, you don't know the side street, so I don't see a difference. But anyway, that's all that is, we want to authorize and have a discussion with the owner to see if they're interested in having, we don't have any parking spaces, not as big as the other one, but midsummer or any time of summer is better than nothing. So anyone have any objection or anyone approve that?
Mayor, this is effectively looking at a model similar to what's on the lot next to the Avenue? Or is this
Yeah.
for employee parking?
It's employee parking.
Employee parking.
Joe, correct, employee parking?
Absolutely. Replacing the employee lot, as you said, it's smaller than the existing one, so we have to operate in a fashion that, the employees are not guaranteed a spot, but I think we could get a sufficient number over there and to limit the personnel from driving there, we would have an in and an out on the two different streets, on one street and in and one street and out. River is there's a traffic light there, so probably better to come out of River Street, in on South Street, but I wanted to run it by council, mayor and council before I even approach the owner, with our idea of utilizing it, as a substitute for South Street, because
I don't know, I personally don't think it's successful. I don't know if they're interested, but I wouldn't have any opposition to it. I don't know, anyone on council have anything?
No, other than the Haven has a piece of land there that's empty that may not be part of their initial, maybe that if one doesn't have interest, the other one may.
It seems like you might need to do more than one.
One.
Because,
We're gonna run out of lots pretty soon.
I know, we don't
It's
have
all
a couple.
temporary.
I know,
Be
yeah.
a bigger town.
yeah. I think the only challenge, because it is downtown, is you're gonna have a lot of people thinking it's a parking lot, right?
It's easy enough to enforce.
Yeah, it is, you just stick it there, right? So.
It's easy enough to enforce.
So Joe, what you're describing is, somebody going in would not go all the way down that the side street, which would be good for the residents not to have that traffic. They would pull right into that lot, and then they would exit without really going down much of the side street.
Right. You put the entrances at the, as close to the beginning,
Yeah.
right? And then,
Yeah.
good.
Well, Joe, just to make sure,
Yeah.
doing his due diligence, want to make sure that you're not opposed to it. So yeah, Joe, I think you have the green light to start that discussion.
Thank you.
I wish you luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks. Let's see, next up is another, we're just gonna, you wanna review the shared services with Highland Road Street Sweeping, it'll, leave you have the next agenda, I don't see why we wouldn't, but unless anything wants to discuss or have questions.
Joe, do you know of any problems with it?
I guess I would ask Dave and Rob more than me. I haven't gotten a complaint about it. We all know the nature of these street sweepers are, you know, to make, I hate to say it, to make nice straight piles of the dirt. I mean, they're not overly efficient, you know, they're mechanical units, and if the police aren't enforcing, of course they are, you know, they go around and we have some problems there, but I don't know of any problem administratively with Highlands. It's a, you know, we kind of barter some of our lifeguarding in Highlands with this project. It helps both them and us not having to actually generate the dollars. It's a swap of services to a certain degree. They do pay us because the lifeguarding is more than the street sweeping, but Dave or Rob might know, or any of you that live there, obviously, know if there's a problem, but I have not gotten complaints, Councilman.
Dave, you aware? Any
Yeah.
problems?
Brian and I talked about it during the last big storm when I tried to get them to come in and do the streets after we picked up the work after the flood. And they were too busy taking care of their own stuff, so they couldn't make it. So with that, I called CNL to see if I could get them in, because normally when we had a contract with them, they would come in and help us out again. So you lose that service, you know, we try to tidy up the streets. Yeah,
Would you-
remove the heavy debris.
Yeah, so would you recommend we still nonetheless stick with the shared services, or is it too problematic? Are you okay with it as is?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
You know, only thing I can maybe try to work something out with CNL, but it may cost a little bit extra, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for emergency time?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I'll work on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, the next two are pretty much related. We discussed in the past, I know Baskar CFO has worked on this, making some modifications to the first manual update, including some vouchers. Let's see. It's going to be on the next agenda, so I don't know, it was just to adopt the updated manual. I don't think anybody has any questions, or Joe, anything else we need to cover on that? I know we've kind of discussed it already, but
There'll be a change that we do not currently have QPA, so the QPA won't be responsible for that. Noise made some changes on that. When we get a QPA, we'd love to have one that we can afford, and when the QPA is in place eventually, we will include that in the manual. Then the claims approval will be amending that chapter about the process by which we approve all of this. That's all I have.
sound good. All right, does anyone need comments? See on the next agenda?
Oh, right, sure, on that is another additional item.
Yeah.
I just want to reference that Joe and I met with the Smiths at 620 Ocean Avenue about the bulk of their dirt check now. They seem to have come around, so we seem to have that worked out. I set the plan to DOT for their comment. The alignment is works now, they just want an extra manhole to keep it, instead of on an angle at the rear of the property, snug with the property line. The only thing we have to work out is how it ends in the water, but I think it has to end with a pipe crib. DOT right now has it in there as a splash block, refresh station across the beach. Smiths are not in favor of that. So that seems to be the only thing to work out, and once that's done, we're ready to go.
Thanks for That's very good.
Did they sort you on that, or just?
No, we've been chasing them for about a year. Yeah. They've had a pretty good change of heart since the last time I met them. Because, yeah, only the storm, yeah, because last time they were emphatic, there's no way of doing this. This time, all they want to do is if you could just hug it to the property line as close as possible, you come through the beach, they seem to be receptive to it. So-
Mayor, if I could ask a quick question. So the existing check valves that are going in, ones that have been delayed, and then on top of that, the ones that the state have responsibility for. What's the status of the ones that we install?
Oh, we have 3 of them in, we're still waiting for the last 2 to go in.
So we got 3 of them in, Dave?
Yeah, 2 on River Street, 1 on South Street, the other one's on Beach and Center.
So we're waiting for 2 other check valves that we can install?
We can't install, they have to install them off the large.
No, I mean, it's not for a project.
Yeah, it's for ours, yeah, we still have two more have to be
Okay, so that's a total of 5
completed. Yeah, 3 to 5 are
that we have responsibility for, and then there are ones that the state has.
2 that the state.
You just gave us an update, positive update on the north side property. Do you have any feel for when this likely that those 2 will be installed?
I know that they wanted to do this before they did the paving, because obviously there's some street improvements that have to do with drainage. And they have to put a backflow preventer manhole in where they want to site the backflow preventer itself. So that has to happen before paving. I know they want to do the paving probably this year, so I would tend to say this all should happen this year once we get this finalized. I don't know what we do on this one.
Okay. And Dave, the remaining 2 we have, what do you think they'll be in?
I know it's been a tough slog with these people, I've been going at it for months, you know.
What's your best estimate
Hopefully by spring, by April maybe.
of this year?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Spread on the repaving. Is that, we can know what the start and finish lines are in town? We're gonna skip around the bridge.
Yeah, that all has to be worked out, because the time, they haven't even set their schedule yet, they're just, we know what's on their schedule. But I know that the bridge is holding it up, and the backflow preventers are really holding it up. Because they certainly didn't want to pave and then have to come and rip open the street right where they did that. So I know this is kind of like good news to them too.
The bridge, that section goes down, that's,
Yeah, they won't do that whole area. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know if we want to ask them, well, I'd rather let them set their schedule instead of us. Sure.
Here's a question, quick, the water that's puddling off the north end. I looked at the other day, it looks like that water is coming from above the curb. Right, are we looking at where it's coming from versus where it's ending up?
Yeah, it's actually coming up between the pavement and the curb. It bubbles up right there. And I was looking at it, I've been kind of keeping an eye on it. It seems to mostly occur during high tides. I think it's a tide thing.
Really?
Yeah. It's just with all the rain that we had prior to that bubbling up there, ground was saturated, so when the tide comes up and pushes that water, it's just available to push out there. But as things dry out, that should subside.
It hasn't seemed to dry, but I looked at it, and even on the blacktop in the parking lot, it's wet. It looks like it's coming towards the sewer plant, no?
The biggest problem we have is a low spot in the pavement. So it's essentially a bird bath, even if it rained, it would puddle there until it physically dry. And that also makes it look bad because I've seen it through manhole right there. So everybody, your first thought is pulling out the manhole. When we check the manhole, if that manhole is in bad shape, we're looking to get that replaced because the interior has been eroded away, so the wall thickness is pretty thin. But it's not coming from inside the manhole because that flow is all low and it's bubbling up at the curb level, but the flow in the manhole is down 3 feet. So there's no way that pressure, plus there's no evidence of, you would smell the sewer.
no,
It's definitely groundwater.
yeah, there is no order.
No. Now, if it was sewer, you would know.
Oh, yeah.
It just looks like there's a, I don't know, I call it a cleanup, there's a little cap, and that's wet, it looks like it's feeding.
Yeah, that makes it look like it could be a water break, and the water company's out there looking at it. The other thing we didn't do was test the water to see if it was chlorinated, but they did all their testing on their lines, they found no leak. Because that was our. That was our first instinct too, that it was coming out of nowhere like that, all of a sudden popping up is kind of strange. You know, the last storm, who knows what happened, there might have been something that was eroded away from the last storm, and now that's an avenue for water to come there to high tide.
It's a weak spot, right, you're saying, correct?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's cascading in, right, from the walls, we saw that too.
Yeah.
Into our sewer system, which is costing us money on the back end, it gets metered out on the beach. Go higher.
That's the same problem. Oh, yeah, actually, just a week ago, bad time.
Hey, if I could ask a quick question, a resident approached me about understanding water quality in town, water that we provide in town. Do we, what is our methodology by which we're comfortable with water quality is what it needs to be? I don't know if that's for Joe, Dave, or Greg, or Louis, but do we get data from whoever provides the water, American Water, on its content, its frequency of testing and stuff like that? If our residents ask us, why are we confident the quality of our water is high, what is our answer?
Yeah, but
They have to put it out there by law,
Yeah,
right?
They have to test, I believe it's on a monthly basis. And if you want the results of their testing, you can call them up and their PR system, their PR department will send you their test results. And, you know, it has breakdown of what all the, you know, things that are in it. The chlorine, you know, it has everything listed.
Do we ever see that data or only if we ask for it?
Only if you ask for it.
And we know that it's good.
Well, I don't think they're regularly, but I see it.
They would have to tell us if it
Yeah,
wasn't.
right, yes.
I just want to be able to answer the question, right?
I would tell you this, I wanted to test the water because of something that was going on, and I brought it to the pool place over by the wall. And he said, this water's excellent, he said, there's nothing to be concerned with. So he told me if I wanted to bring it regularly, I could, but at that point, I decided it's not worth it.
Okay, so we're gonna move over. Yeah, they don't trust it.
I think the most important thing is just the flushing of the lines. That you generally, you don't put the caving in the metal lines on the inside. As long as they're flushing lines, I know they're pretty regimented on that, every quarter they do that. That's the worst enemy you would have, because that just gets you iron content up in your water. But other than that, they're worth it.
So we can say with confidence to our residents that we're comfortable with the quality of the water.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, thank you.
I remember after saying there's one fellow, we had limited access to water here, and there was like one central electric where, do you remember this day, like one guy coming in with like 5-gallon drums, and he just mixed that Seabright water, you know,
I don't
it was like
remember
miraculous spring water, and he was delirious, but like really, it's the best water ever, you know, it had to be medicinal purpose, but I'm like, that's the city water. It was pretty funny, so it was a unique time.
I don't remember that one. There was
Oh,
something going.
Yeah, you remember him? That was funny. He was very convincing. But, all right, let's see, thanks guys. So we have 5 upcoming resolutions you take a look at, on the next agenda. And then as discussed at the last council meeting, anyone who would like to comment on their 2023 plans and priorities for their committees, if you want to start maybe, since Jeff's online, Jeff, you got anything to say? You want to kick it off?
Yep, I can do that. Hopefully you guys hear me okay.
Yep.
And really, as far as finance, insurance, our budget season, continue to work with Mike Baskin and his team. We obviously have some challenges to deal with. We've got some requests in from various departments, police, fire, elsewhere looking for resources. We have to, again, balance the need to provide first responders and appropriate support, etc., along with making sure that we're fiscally responsible. So that's always a push and pull. So we will continue to move forward on that. I would like also to report that there has been initial progress on our grant program, as we have retained the Millennium Strategy to help us, curate and look at various grant opportunities. That is the first meeting or two that has gone well. And again, we're looking to find resources in that regard. So I think that those are really our two things that we've been focused on this year from a finance perspective. I also did attend the GIFT annual
Jeff, we lost you.
Exactly.
We can't hear you, Jeff.
Yeah, breaking up. You can't hear me?
No.
You can't hear me now?
No, okay, you're good.
Okay. Well, that's not that stuff we got this, but I was just saying, I've gone to the GIST annual training for municipal officials. We'll get a small credit on our assessment from that. Just good general information. Again, those are the two main areas for our budget and grants that we'll be focusing on this year.
All right, very cool. Thanks, Jeff. And before we want to also mention Sam's here, so we do have next council meeting, we'll have Sam post any comments that you're the council committee hearing, if he has any comments to add to each and so forth. Anybody have any questions for Jeff?
Nope.
All right, thanks again, Jeff. Who's next?
Thank you.
I'll go next, Mayor.
So administration shared services on that committee are John and Jeff and myself. We met on January 31st and talked through the priorities for 2023. We have 3 of them that we identified. The first, and clearly our highest priority, is to develop, propose, and implement a new bulkhead improvement ordinance. We just talked about that. A lot of good work was done last year. We want to continue on that. In our view, there's 5 elements of making that happen. Number 1, we have to complete the engineering and cost assessment. We're in the middle of that right now. The second is we've got to review and recommend the potential assessment and financing model. Mike Baskin is working on that. We also have to review and assess any legal, regulatory, or access issues that would affect our ability to move forward. We don't want to do the engineering work, do the financing work, only to find out that we have other things that would block us from doing it. So we want to include that in reviews as well. As part of that, ultimately, we would update and improve the new ordinance that would describe how we're going to implement this and the responsibilities of the property owners. And hopefully, if all goes well, actually launch the project with financing this year and make it complementary to the other work that's going on. And that would be a major step forward in our minds on item number 1. Item number 2 is an interesting one. I call it developing a long-term view on municipal staffing plan. There's a couple of reasons we want to do this. First of all, we have a number of our very capable workers who are not that far from retirement. So we have to understand and develop plans for succession as required. We don't want that to happen to us. We want to manage our way through that effectively. So we've already started some discussions on that, on succession planning. We also want to look at determining whether or not there's potential alignment, expansion, or consolidation of positions over time. If you do this thoughtfully over a period of time, it actually creates the opportunity for some efficiencies, some improvements, whatever the case may be. So laying that out, and then ultimately proposing and getting approval from a multi-year plan to do that. This is something that happens over time. It doesn't happen year to year. Since administration also has personnel responsibility, we identify that as an area of focus. And Joe is well coordinated with what we're doing here. The third item, which we always do, is continue to identify shared services opportunities for efficiency improvements and potential cost savings. We do a number of that now, but it doesn't mean we're done. We'll continue to look for that. And something that came up, the last item I'll say that came up during our meeting was, and this may ruffle some feathers a little bit, I apologize, but to conduct a cross-department assessment of township vehicles to verify that we have what we need collectively. Each one of the departments has those, they use those appropriately, but we want to take a look at holistically the number of vehicles, the type of vehicles that we have in the town to determine is it the most cost-effective and efficient way of having a whole motor pool for the purposes of use by the municipal team, fire department, EMS, police, and all that kind of stuff. So those are the 4 major that we're going to be working on this year, and look for the support of the council and the professionals.
Thanks, Ron. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm sorry, I should say one other thing. I had a note here. If you remember our last meeting, we also had a discussion about looking at our smoking ordinance and taking a look at that. We don't want to necessarily react to individuals in town. We want to look at this appropriately. So this afternoon at 2 o'clock, we're holding a meeting to discuss this, evaluate alternatives, make recommendations to the mayor and council. Richard, the chief, will be there. Joe will be there. Sam was invited. Heather was invited. Anybody else that's interested to be part of that conversation, we'll be talking about it today at 2 o'clock in the municipal conference room. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Jack, you're ready to go.
Yeah, just a couple of things I want to focus on, looking at the police chief. This is safety issues, traffic related. And just list a couple of things. We have a delivery truck double parking on Ocean Avenue in San Town. I've seen several close calls of that, and just to see working with the chief and Jim to come up with any resolutions, improvements, or on that particular fact. We talked about the sign and traffic lights as far as pedestrian crossings, something I know you checked on and working on that also. And we did get the DOT on these lighted crosswalks, which would be, again, I want to focus most importantly on the foot of the Highlands Bridge. That situation is very dangerous. The very busy restaurant and the heavy-duty trucks are going back to the commercial chicken and the new condominium complex right there. So there's a lot of pedestrian activity and vehicle activity right at the foot of the bridge. And we have people coming down from the bridge at 45, 50 miles an hour, and there's not much time to react. Working with the DOT and trying to work to see if we can coordinate also with the Sandy Hook administrator to they'll go along with us in the letter of recommendation on making these improvements. But that, from safety perspective, I think the biggest threat or cause of concern is at the foot of the Highland Bridge. The second one we want to focus on, working with John on this, is the alleyway behind the storefronts in the center of town. As we have to improve one way or another with improve accessibility, especially for emergency responders. When anything happens and we require the alleyway right now, if you were a fireman and you had your gear on, you could not get past the telephone pole fencing and stuff. So that has to be addressed. I know John is working on this, and I hate to go the legal route, but we may end up doing it. Another area of focus is, most especially in the summertime, is bike riding related. We have, and I can't count the number of close calls I've seen, but we have, especially youngsters, many of them coming over from Robson, on the bridge, and they're not wearing helmets, they don't have reflective gear on, they don't have lights, and they're coming over and they're cutting in and out and doing this and doing that. And we have to work again with the chief and see what protocols we can come up with and put in place. And I was thinking maybe we can talk to the Rumson people, because a lot of these young fellas come over here off of Rumson. And we can work out something, both for the schools, with a notice or send out a letter to the residents, just to, I think we're very fortunate we didn't have any serious bike accidents. We did have several where people are not over, but nothing serious. That bike related is a serious matter for us. Chad mentioned this coming out. We have a couple of things, the fire department on turnout gear. We have so many, we have a number of volunteers coming in from out of town. Very happy to have them coming on board, but we don't have enough turnout gear. And we're borrowing some turnout gear from other towns just to meet the needs so these fellows can actually go out on the fire. So that's the top of my list here, working with my passion. And as I mentioned, they're doing repair work on a lot of trucks. But the lifeguard is coming with the first aid squad. Again, very pleased with the number of calls that they're making. And it's a major improvement. Last year was over 300 calls. They have a need for a power lift stretcher because we have manual lift stretchers. And talking to the chief, they've had a number of incidents where either the first aiders themselves have been injured back or shoulder, or the patient they're carrying have problems. They sort of semi-drop the stretcher because of the weight of it. And the recent factor now is you read the newspaper, it's going up and up and up, and those are the same very people, and most likely to have a problem with their health. So the power stretcher would be a major safety improvement, and again, we have backing on that. One final thing on the court, talking with the chief, we may want to consider an assistant to our borough clerk, our court clerk. Working again with the chief and the court person over there. In the summer months, we may be a bit overwhelmed, so that's a possibility to look at. But one thing I did want to mention with the chief when we talked about this, we might want to consider, I think we should definitely consider a maybe only part-time, but a clerk working in the police office to help relieve the paperwork load on the line office. Many of the line officers when on duty, they spend literally hours doing paperwork, a lot of it associated with the body cameras. Every one of those body camera films has to be reviewed and put into catalogs, etc. And I know talking to the chief and the individual officers, they spend an awful lot of time doing that. And maybe we could have, again, a part-time clerk that other points work on.
Great.
And we'll go through the committee and we report as we move. Thank you.
Is there a, you look for an assistant, is there any way we can share with them that?
I'm told you there's no requirement for police background for that to do.
I'll get past the background check.
Okay. Thank you, Chief, for the heads up on that. And again, I'm working with John on punch list. We have a couple of examples of overall things, not just police and safety, but overall punch list. And I'll get that to you and see if we can agree on the priorities you want to set.
Thank you. All right. John, who's next?
Let's keep going.
Okay, so this year I have the pleasure of working with Public Works. And I want to make sure I gain the trust and confidence of the team. I want to make sure I'm going to be looking at, from my view, right, how to maximize performance and efficiency, and make sure that our residents feel that we're getting the job done. So just identify a couple of objectives. So look at the opportunities of the employees, so where we might have gaps, see if we need any training. I would like to ride along. Dave doesn't think that's a great idea, but I want to get to know them, what makes them tick, and how they see our town. I don't. To my awareness, most of them do not live in town. I think Joey's the only one. And when they ride through, they may see it different than if they were walking the street to go get a soda pop.
I thought I gave you a couple ride-alongs.
Yeah, I could have said
He
that.
did.
He goes along with pencil switch, open door.
Yeah. I actually offered that if there's something I can assist with, I'll wear my council vest so that you know I'm allowed to be in the street, whatever.
Yeah, did you run over first?
And then I want to figure out how we assess customer satisfaction. We had at one time that vendor come in that has a software application where the residents can subscribe and then send in their design, right? There's a problem. And then we can track it, get a dashboard. We can look at what's repeat offenders and then try to make sure we have measurable actions in place. And of course, to look at how we fund it. We have a large list that Dave and Rob and Joe and I went over of utility projects coming up, and we need to make sure they're funded. And Joe said, well, look at that as a 5-year plan. So I want to make sure that we don't take our eye off it. We're always taking the quick hit that we got to go do this now, but the long-term ones seem to fall aside sometimes. I just want to make sure that it's focused. So far, Dave has taken me out. We looked at a couple of things. We looked at some check valves and a couple other issues that we noticed in town. I don't want them to be jumping to my request. I'm not looking to request. I'm just bringing up ideas on how to look at it differently. The second item is the green team. I met with Michelle and we talked about it. We're going to review the participants because I'm not sure if they're all still engaged. We should be having a regular monthly meeting according to the program. We have some items that expired, like the farmer's market, so we really don't get any points there, so we have to look for, can we reinsert some things? We'll identify new sanction opportunities if that there makes sense to see right, and work with the grant group to see, are these effectual, right? So if the green team doesn't present us anything because our town is a little smaller than most that are doing this, what real involvement and what does it contribute back to the community? So we haven't had a meeting yet, but I talked to Michelle a couple times about it, and she submitted our update for this year, and now we'll see what they come back with, and then we'll start the process. And the last one is beautification. The goal is to enhance the quality of life in our community through planning and management of our landscape assets. Only one member that's on the team has signed up again to be with me this year. Didn't hear back from everybody, but most said they couldn't do it. But Frank Barnes right away responded that he's involved and he will be the glue because he's been there, right? So we'll reestablish the team. We'll establish some regular meetings. We'll gain agreement on desired projects and present them to the council and mayor, and we'll find out where we can get the money from, right? And we'll see if we can get that going. And that's it for my group.
Thanks, John.
Hey, John, can I just ask, I know it's not COVID related, what's happening with the borough wall enhancement?
Okay, so, right now, we're waiting on the weather. The vendor that will do the repair work and painting, said as soon as weather, is acceptable, he needs like 3-4 days of the same weather. So we'll see what happens with that, but we identified a problem on the back wall. I looked at it last year, there was some mold there, I had cleaned it with bleach and see what happens, but Public Works opened it up this week and it's wet back there. It's not terrible, but.
North or Oceanside?
Oceanside.
Brian, I explained to him, sorry, about what happened.
Yeah,
in 2008, and I have a big concern about that.
So what happened?
You have to take down the whole back wall, it was structurally termites, it was.
I remember.
Ever rotted, it was horrible.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
It was an accident waiting to happen.
It was the same area, yeah.
Well, it was mitigated, but the area over towards where the window is, towards the bathrooms, there's some wetness there. And so it hasn't dried in a year, I doubt that it's gonna dry. We need to figure that out before we start doing the outside, right?
Yeah, I know we talked about it in the past, are we still considering putting bathrooms outside that area?
It's considerable, but it's a big project, and when I looked at the plans, because actually we had the plans from yesteryear, they go right to the curb. It's doable, it's, how do we fund it? And maybe this all plays in. We're gonna see what is causing this water. We're gonna have some good nasty weather the next couple of days. We'll take a look.
Yeah, I was just thinking this, I was gonna show the latest issue that's been remedied already, or is it working?
It's not remedied. It's right now we're observing, but it is wet. We did some insect protection, but we didn't find insects.
Silverfish that.
Yeah, I was thinking, just in case there's been any major remediation there or anything, but we consider the bathroom thing there.
At the same time.
Yeah.
And so goes the outside of the building, because that wall, if you look at the corner, it's open. Is the water getting in there and traveling, or is it coming from up above and traveling? We need to decide that and know it before we start repairing that side of the building.
Yeah, I recommend some kind of structural inspection, just to make sure after what happened last time.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at that.
It was a total failure.
And a neighbor of mine who's an artist has offered to help us with the painting, so she gave me more renditions of perhaps the tower, having some red stripes look like a lighthouse. And then she made a mural that she would be willing to paint free of charge along the facade where we need to repair that. So I shared some of them with Heather and I showed them to several of you, but we haven't decided. We're trying to use the colors that we have, but also make them not look like there's something else, right? So we have some motion. I'm pretty sure that the contractor that is going to do the work is the same person that does some about concrete curbs and all. So he's a known entity and he's been very responsive. So hopefully in a couple of weeks we know what's going on with the water. We determine it's okay to move forward with the painting and whatever. And we'll continue to think it, and I work together, you know, I'm second on the rec committee, so if she wants to be involved in the rec stuff, we still have a lot of ideas of what we could do with that building. But overall, it's good. Don's got some kids in there on Tuesdays and Thursdays right now doing a program. And they're still playing pickleball, and the seniors are still meeting in there. So it's getting some use, but we can do a lot more.
It's important to keep that sidewalk, some sidewalk on the east
On the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that will make it tough with the bathrooms, but we're gonna be open-minded, and have how maybe you could enter from that way, and I don't know, we'll look at that, let's figure out our trouble now, and see if we can get past that, because we weren't expecting that to be a problem, but, they were kind enough to open the wall and see that it is wet. It's not running, but we really haven't had a big storm in a while. Tomorrow the next day should tell us.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
So going into library, recreation, and public relations. So for the library standpoint, the group hasn't gotten together since the Fall Fest, so we are going to get together shortly and develop program recommendations given the endowment funding source that we have. So take a look at it, see what we have, see what would be beneficial to layer into the existing programs, and potentially maybe look to introduce 2 new programming opportunities for 2023. Also thinking about exploring the feasibility of an after-school tutoring program. So it could be guided by our students from either Shore Regional, Henry Hudson, Mast. You know, we've got the buses come by, there's the bus stop, they can come off one day a week. You can just kind of figure it out and just see if it's worthwhile. It would be also a way for honors kids to kind of use volunteer time opportunities if they need to clock in for high school. And just sometimes give parents a little bit of relief of not having to do the homework with the kids and just having a, you know, kind of a focus and have kids kind of get together. And that's the whole opportunity here, really. It's like mingling, and it doesn't have to be just the public school kids. It can be private school kids. We have children here. Let's just find ways to kind of bring them together. And also remember, we have a great library, and there's opportunities to utilize it.
Sure.
Whether they have the book on the shelf or not, the books will come like any day from any other library outside. So just trying to find ways to bring more people and older children
Does it
into.
require staffing, use that word?
Not really, because you've got the librarians who are there, and you've got the high school kids, you know, the honor kids that are coming. I'm sure we get parent volunteers to come in and oversee it.
Programs in there, taking advantage.
Absolutely, definitely. So that's the library. That's a little bit, you know, kind of smaller, but I think once we really understand the endowment funds, we can play around and figure out, you know, what programs are sticking. From a recreation standpoint, John just talked a little bit about the building, but 2023 is interesting because it's the first year in 12 years where the rec center will actually be open the entire calendar year for residents. I know. So let's really take that as an opportunity and also test and learn and really figure out like what can it be leveraged for. So we really just want to be a place as a provider of community play and active engagement. We want to confirm existing and new appointments to the community advisory team, as you mentioned with your green team, where you know there's new blood and additional people want to participate. So we're going to meet twice a quarter, and we're going to have our first meeting the first week in March. Finishing the exterior renovations, which John just talked about. We want to flow in and evaluate new ongoing programming opportunities. So right now, Don's got the basketball clinic, the soccer clinic's going. We want to also offer open space, like free time, come in, shoot hoops, whatever. Here's your block of time, you've got open space. Don and I were also talking about maybe bringing a STEAM program in the spring. I mean, that's really highly active. All the schools are really introducing that program. It could also bring a lot of kids in. It could be fun days where you just have, you know, once a month, twice a month. Again, we're just kind of, it's kind of like what science, technology,
Engineering, arts,
art,
math.
They just do a lot of high touch kind of play. You build a rock.
Yeah, how do you identify that was
STEAM.
Both of those things, library.
Yeah, they added arts. The arts felt excluded.
Yeah, it's kind of contribute towards green points.
Oh, okay.
The one time they did growing animals.
Yeah.
And somehow that gets you green points.
There was a little half a point for the animals.
Yes.
Science technology.
So again, the advisory committee will explore all those further. So we'll come through and we'll recommend and think about the different programs that would be great to bring into the rec center. Explore and select an online reservation system, and we want to integrate that into our website. We're looking to integrate that around mid-April. It could be a little later, but that kind of is the goal.
Yes, where we go that.
And we want to create a policy for non-resident use and enjoyment. So we know the pickleball folks are pretty, active. And so when you bring kind of like the Mama Beach pickleball people in, they start picking out the seats. So we need to be very kind of bring a friend, open. But again, this rec center is really
You got more popular, that's so funny.
It is, and that's where maybe the EMS team may have to be, or we might get up to like 10 more calls for pickleball going on.
Men's basketball are interested again too.
Okay.
I saw people used to play years ago and they want to go get back into that.
Well, then we will put you in here.
They do, they loved it. That men's basketball league was great there at that time.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because volleyball is such a big
Yeah.
thing.
Heather, just a quick question. I know last year John looked at the potential of having some sort of fee schedule around this, minimal fee, but something, but have we made progress in that?
No, I haven't picked it up. I think it's
There is a resolution that talks to fees. The Cub Scouts are coming back in April, right? So for nonprofit, we're not looking for fees, we're looking for insurance and, that they're gonna take care of the room. They sign off something, but that's where the contention was, where people are bringing in their friends from out of town. Somehow maybe we talked to Heather about, maybe we have a Tuesday night to Seat Writers, you have to have a Seat Write address and it's free. And
every night.
Another night is for people out of town and there's a fee associated.
Yeah, definitely. We'll look at that. We want to create a policy for non-residents.
Between maintenance of the building,
Yeah.
heating and air conditioning,
Yeah.
cleanup, stuff like that, you would think for a minimal fee, basketball, whoever it is,
Yeah,
there should be a fee structure.
Yeah.
It's just the same as for this building, honestly, we should look at it holistically, finally, but every year we have the same discussion and no action.
Right.
And we punt for whatever reason, so, and Joe, especially we had somebody reach out recently, put her in touch with you, so we had a continuing,
What we have in here, self-funding is a huge goal. Like finding programs that are going to kind of help fund
Okay,
it.
so you're gonna look to go do that.
Yeah. So.
We are not, I'm sorry, Councilman, we're looking at, Donna and I have been looking at a fee structure along with John, trying to figure it out. It really is difficult to try to put a nail in it and figure out this is the price it ought to be, especially for the varied groups that are using the community center, the old Park Hall. Big people, I believe, pays $50 an hour for their use. As the mayor said, we met with someone that has a Pilates group would like to use it. They only want to try it once, so I think Don's been talking to them about the same $50 an hour. That they don't know if they're going to get any people there, if the outreach is good enough. So then I could work with Heather and Don and council and try to figure it out for both buildings. But when we last tried, Mayor, if you remember, it was during COVID. We had a fee to sanitize the room after use and everything else. And it is a time to revisit that, holistic approach to both buildings.
And I think one thing we can do is when it comes to the past, we generally get, co-groups obviously take Cottingville, but I just think, once we analyze it enough, just pull the trigger on it, and like everything else, paid park, whatever, we have an annual review. So if we have to tweak it, I would just say get involved this year, one or the other, for both buildings. And then, if we make a change or stop things, we can do that. But otherwise, we'll debate this for the years. Right.
Definitely one component of the overall picture, making sure that it's self-funding and understand if there's a cleaning monthly cost associated, what do we need to bring in to offset that, right? So thinking too, when it's time, potentially hold an open house, inviting residents to explore the rec center, and maybe we can align with a larger Seabright open house. We did something with the open house with the fire, and had that open house. Like maybe there's a way where we can bundle a couple of things together to create a larger sort of event, and does that become kind of an annual event of some sort?
That'd be good.
Explore venue rental opportunities and interests. So rent out the space, birthday parties. Winter farmers market. So I was looking at Asbury Yacht Club has an awesome farmers market that they do on that boardwalk. It's always nice to piggyback off of second day. 7-day bread is always, a good deal. Maybe there's an opportunity where during the winter, we've got the Donovan slot that's not really being used. Maybe you could use that space and just bring people into the town. It's an off-season thing. It would not be looked at in any shape or form beyond that, but just, taking a pulse and seeing if that's of interest. But again, you're renting out the space.
In Southport, North Carolina, at this time of the year, they have all of the businesses host something to bring the patrons into town for a community thing, and they all contribute something. And we've done things like that in the past, so.
It's a big space, a decent space.
Yeah, what town did you mention?
It was Asbury Park.
Was that right?
Yeah. The woman who used to run Langosta Lounge, who's now at Whitechapel Project, she's very much involved with it, Marilyn. It would be very, be interesting to kind of talk to her, and I've reached out to her, and she'll, we'll have a little bit of a conversation. So that's something we could explore. Continue to be a volunteer space for cause-related events. It's nice for that welcoming community. We've got a great group. We can all find time within the schedule, pick out some pickleball folk and say, I'm sorry, this is cause-related time. Continue to host and run reoccurring community building events residents and neighbors look forward to, and build off the successes of past experiences. So essentially we have 6 core events. The Easter egg hunt, which is coming up, the Fireman's Fair, which we just talked about, Trunk or Treat. We're potentially going to look at creating a haunted rec house to tag on to that. And so maybe we just kind of reverse the Trunk or Treat, where we have everything. You can start at the rec center and then walk over to the firehouse. We might not need fire. We can or do something in the back. We can just play around with it. But just to kind of create, we've got more room, and again, it's another way of having people walk through the building and understand this is their space. This is here for the residents. Holiday lighting and Memorial Day event. We have 3 tertiary events. These are always pending budget availability, so maybe 1 movie on the beach and 2 concerts on the beach. And we also want to consider new self-funding opportunities. So maybe for 4th quarter this year, 1st quarter 2024, look at doing a pop-up ice skate. So you see what's in your village. You can easily pull something like that up, either having it over here in the beach parking lot or having it next to the rec center or something. But just thinking about and looking at the finances there, how it's working. Everything needs to be self-funding. You're really trying to bring additional people into the town. And again, these are all things that the advisory committee is going to be working on to explore. Going into public relations, we really want to make Seabright Borough information as easy to find. On the channels users are coming from, and leverage all communication platforms to bring the information to people. If you're on social, you want some information there. If you're on text, maybe the NICSA will come through. Really just, you've got the sign outside, making sure everything is kind of synced and organized together. Looking to mobilely optimize our current website. If you look at the data analytics, 65% of the visitors last year came from mobile, and our site is not optimized for mobile visitors. We want to review the website content by department to update information and or remove or archive what is no longer current, and review user analytics for recommendations on streamlining to what is the most relevant. You don't have to have everything on there if it's, don't feel like you need to just put something up because perhaps, you feel like you do. We've got that right now with the library on the top nav. It really doesn't do anything. It doesn't even connect to the library website. So just really looking at ways to optimize the site and just make it cleaner. So we've got the top 10 page viewed by the 22 calendar year. Really no surprise. It's a lot of beach department, beach visitors, junior lifeguard program, beach homepage, and then payments, right? Tax department and police department. So just no surprises there, but we can definitely look at organizing the site that is going to be beneficial to the way people are coming in and what they're looking for by using the data. We'll also explore a quarterly newsletter, probably digitally, the distribution first. We started that last year. We have a PDF up, so just thinking about potentially moving forward, and maybe that'll evolve into something more in 2023. before, when there's more budget associated with
It
it.
is a green.
It is a green thing?
That's one of the things we got points for. so
Okay.
It'd be nice to.
Well, we'll keep the points coming.
Yeah, come on.
And we really just want to position our SeabrightNewJersey.org as the hub for all official information. Erwin and I have talked about this before, like, that is the source. If you ever have an answer, you come in and you get like the black and white, kind of, this is the source of information.
I agree, that's what I've said too, in the past, it was online, but now every time I order, like, goes to it really should be the primary source as opposed to
And
social
so
media.
that becomes the hub of pushing it out, right? So you can find it here, but you're coming and you're getting what you want. Also working to develop Seabright social media policy platforms and approve spokespeople, given the feedback from our best practices survey. Develop communication of events policy that covers borough-led and special events, just making sure we're aligned, like what gets on the sign. I think right now it's just having a unified agreement on what gets communicated and what doesn't, and not that it's left up to individual people, because that can be hard on someone, so just putting kind of a straight policy and say, all right, that goes up on the board. And then, of course, we want to increase our press exposure around Seabright. We're not really looking to get more people to come because I think we're pretty good there, especially in the summer months. But I think there's a lot of great things going on. You know, our beach is like one of the top 5 beaches. We've got restaurants that are top 100. You know, there's a lot that we jam-packed in this little space. 2 of our exercise fitness businesses, they're already having satellite spaces. Like AB's moved into Fairhaven as well, and Prosperology is moving into Middletown. Like, the amount that we pack into this tiny little strip is really phenomenal. So let's just kind of share that. So connected to the website, I am going to ask that if anyone has any municipality websites that they like. I have a list of a few coming forward, and then I'll also kind of, if people are okay doing the website, we've got a couple of, we have some dollars, Joe's put some dollars in to the budget in terms of just maybe making sure that we can optimize it, nothing crazy. And then I'll also, just moving forward, if everyone's okay, I'll just send you kind of what your department's content is, and then you can kind of go through it and figure out if it needs to be changed, if it can be reduced, or if anything needs to happen.
Good. Hey Heather, a question. I know it's not your area of responsibility. You connected at all with the Historical Society?
I haven't, but I can add that in. Actually, it was one event that we could think about as it relates to seniors. Like if the Historical Society, we wanted to have just like an annual birthday or some sort of event that we could have at the rec center where we include the Historical Society and some of our Seabrighters who've maybe been here for a very long time who just tell some pretty phenomenal, I would imagine, stories.
So Mark's been trying to champion that for a while.
Yeah.
Obviously, quite comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always throw teenagers away. Yeah, point was great.
Yeah.
So they're definitely, there's a lot.
And I talked to Chris Doxson, I know they've also been working on kind of that space too, but if there's something going on with the building, you know, we need to kind of keep all of that.
Well, the reason I asked the question, you talked about a potential open house.
Yeah.
And I've been in that area where the Historical Society is supposed to be a number of times, and they must have done something, there's nothing there. So it would be good if they have interest in doing something that actually happens.
Yeah, I'm happy to connect them and put everyone on the same timeline.
So, all right, very cool. I think that's the end of our public meeting.
Hey Mayor, just a question, anything from mayor leadership perspective, focus of 23?
And I'll go back to reorg, it was to that. Yeah, the same thing, you know, I mean, we generally cover that in reorg, so what things coming up to a year, but I mean, essentially, I mean, the town's in great shape as always. You know, we're fiscally in great shape, safety-wise, all the departments do their jobs. So, I mean, I speak to everyone in every department all the time, I talk to the chief almost every day, I talk to Joe all the time. So yeah, I mean, I would say just making sure everyone's in the top everything they can do now. But aside from that, we really just have to, you know, what are the main things we always look at every year? Safety, we're always focused on safety, whether it's beach safety, highway safety, pedestrian safety. So, fiscally responsible, are we improving that year? So, more of the same. But really, aside from that, we've covered everything else in great detail, whether it's regionalization, everything else, and I regurgitate everything that we all know. I'm not a fan of repeating stuff. But, I think we're in a great shape otherwise, and I think we stay on course and just focus on what we're ready to focus on, whether it's phase one, which has been a small work in progress for almost 15 years. And now we're at that point where we can finally close it out in the next 2 to 3 years. I'll just say, stay on task. And, the main problems with it not, just fix the problems there are. We'll have a success with it.
Thanks.
All right, with that being said, make a motion to, anyone who's here, public portion's over.